But yeah, we'll just start then. So welcome to James from Hellripper. Really excited to have you on the show. And going forward, we'll just kind of start with how did Hellripper start? And yeah.
Yeah, thank you for having me on, guys. It's cool. It's nice to be speaking about the new album and stuff like that. And yeah, but yeah, the Hellripper started just because yeah, I wasn't a part of the local scene at all at the time. When I started Hellripper, I think I was probably around 16, 17 when I kind of had the idea to start it. And yeah, I was kind of too young for most of the shows in my area, so I wasn't really a part of the local scene. And no one I knew really was into Venom, Toxic Holocaust, all that kind of stuff that Hellripper's kind of influenced by. So I decided to try and do everything myself. I recorded an EP a couple of years before I released the first Hellripper EP. I recorded what was meant to be the first Hellripper EP, and I was not happy with how it went. So I deleted that completely. I kind of wish I still had the stuff just to see what how it sounded and all that. But yeah, I deleted that completely, kind of went on a little break for 1 or 2 years, just kind of trying to figure out how to do things properly, improve things. And yeah, eventually I came up with something that I was happy with. And that was the first EP, which also led to the next splits and all that kind of stuff. And yeah. But yeah, the original plan was to kind of record the thing at home and maybe find a full band, maybe find other people interested. But I realized that I liked doing everything by myself. It was kind of more, since it's like a hobby and things, I can just kind of do it in my own time. Everything's up to me really. So yeah, I just kept it that way. And here we are 8 years later from the first EP, and yeah.
Well, that was actually going to be one of the things we were going to ask about, like, sort of how you find, being a solo artist, etc. Because we've seen you live a couple of times, and like obviously you have a full band backing you. Like, is that just like kind of hire session musicians? Like, what's the kind of like process for that? Being obviously like it's a very common thing in black metal to have like a studio, one-man studio project, but then like it's still, you want to take that on the road and bring that out to people and stuff at the same time.
Yeah, it's basically, I mean, it's session musicians, but they're my friends really. I've played with Clarky on bass. Well, the current live band has been the same live band for around 4 years now. So yeah, Clarky, the bass player, I've played in bands with him. He was one of the first guys in the local scene that I became friends with. And Joseph on guitar, he was in like an indie band in Aberdeen. I didn't really know him, but I knew of his band, and he bought a patch from me one day on Bandcamp, and I noticed he liked Motorhead and Metallica. And when we needed a guitar player, I thought, if you can play Metallica and stuff like that, surely you can play Hellripper. So I asked him. He was fine with that.
Isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
And Max on drums, I put a tweet out one day saying, I need a drummer, anyone interested? And yeah, Max replied, and like 1 day later or something, he sent a few covers of the Hellripper songs. But he's based down in Brighton, so we're 4 different places, so it's not like we can regularly get together and do stuff. So it's usually when we have a live show, we kind of get to learn everything, like, on our own, and then get together a day or two before the show and do a bigger rehearsal, learn all the stuff, get everything like tight sounding. As long as everyone kind of does their stuff on their own, it's just a matter of kind of tightening things up at like practice and things like that.
Yeah, I mean, like that's like I assumed that they'd all be like local to you, because when we last saw you like supporting Gamma Bomb in Liverpool, and you sounded tight. Like you had like a few technical difficulties at the start, but like you guys were like just really tight. So I would have assumed that you were like a band that like practiced together regularly or something. But
I'm glad you think that way. Yeah, I remember that show. I snapped a string like on the third song or something. But yeah,
And that room was really warm as well. It was like,
oh yeah,
you know,
oh yeah,
It was actually my birthday, and you like wish me happy birthday.
oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah, I think it was like 3 or 4 people's birthday that night.
yeah.
Yeah, there was a couple people over from Sweden as well. It was their birthday. Yeah, that was a fun show. Yeah, we stayed at the place we stayed in. It was like we stayed on like the 5th floor or something, 4th floor of like a hotel or Airbnb or whatever. And yeah, we had to take all the gear upstairs and all that. And
Jeez.
it was like 700 trips up and down the elevator and up the stairs. And there was loads of, what day was it? Was it a weekend? I can't remember.
I can't remember.
I can't remember. I think it was like actually on my birthday, so it was like the 20th. But I can't remember if it was a weekend or not.
Yeah.
But it was,
I remember we couldn't take our bags into the venue. We didn't realize we had to put all our stuff in the Swan, so we had to leave at the end.
and like
And alternate we wanted to go up and hear a song from Gamma Bomb, whilst the other one went outside and went the bags.
Yeah, so we basically had to stash all our bags at a local rock pub that we sometimes used to drink in, and then literally like during the end of Gamma Bomb's set, it was like, no, I really want to see Bullet Belt, so I'm going to run upstairs now. And like,
well, I mean, if you caught the song, it's fine, I guess.
Yeah. Bullet Belt was the one I definitely wanted to hear from Gamma Bomb. So
yeah, Gamma Bomb were great, man. Like they were. Gamma Bomb were just.
So it's just like one big party. That show. It was really fun.
Yeah, I loved it. Yeah, and that was the one. Did Reaper play that one?
We were trying to remember their name because we really liked them, and we were talking about it the other day, like about like potential guests and stuff. And we like that thrash band, that band that like local to Liverpool. What were they called? And thanks.
Yeah, they were cool. They were good. Yeah, but yeah, that show was cool. That was a good show. I enjoyed that one. The stage was set up like the drums were on like the side or something. If I remember correctly. Yeah, just because that was just the way the stage was set up. But yeah, that was a cool one. Yeah. Like
talking about like sort of like you supporting like pretty like prominent sort of thrash bands, like you've got like a tour coming up with Warbringer.
Yeah, it's like 3 dates in the UK with Warbringer. Again, one of my favorite bands of all time. Like
same.
And same with Gamma Bomb. I got into metal and thrash as they were kind of like near the beginning, like the first 1 or 2 albums, I was getting into thrash. So they were some of the first bands I discovered, and yeah, they're some of my favorites. I still listen to Warbringer regularly, and their new albums are probably their best albums overall, I think.
Yeah, Weapons Tomorrow was just fantastic.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I can't really. Yeah, it's cool. I can't really say much more. I'm looking forward to meeting the guys and playing with them and seeing them 3 times.
Have you met John Keppel yet?
No, I've seen them live once in, I think it was Edinburgh, but that was like 5-6 years ago. I never spoke to them or anything, but I saw them live and it was amazing. But
we saw them in Rebellion and we met him afterwards, and he was telling us about was it The Black Hand Reaches Out? He was telling us a story of that.
Oh yeah,
it's like 2017, and he's saying, and then at the end the guy realizes
spitting out my lungs, and like he was like basically recited the lyrics to the new album. So
it's because you said you liked history as well. So
I study history, so like that was kind of. He's probably one of the few people that's actually more intense off stage than he is on stage.
Okay.
Like he just like kind of will get in your face, and like if he's like really excited, he's a really cool guy. He's just intense.
I mean, yeah, I know he's interested in history. I know he's like a history professor or something at uni or something like that.
I think he's still like when I was speaking to him, he was still like studying like his degree and stuff like that. But like I'm also doing like a degree in history, so that was. And obviously he's more interested in the military kind of side of it. Yeah,
that's cool. I mean, he's interested in the thing. It's cool to see people that have got like a a deep interest in their passion, like excitement and stuff. And obviously he can do that through his lyrics as well and stuff, which is really cool. It's cool to have that, like people like interested in their like field. I mean, if he studied history, and obviously he knows what he's speaking about and all that.
No, 100%. And it's kind of like like if you can be like very specific, that's going to speak to a certain audience as well, or maybe might not be that into thrash, but they'll be like, it'll be like an entryway for them into it. And So yeah, like back to you though. Like we know that you've got a new album coming out soon. We played is it Knuckle Leave, like the new single?
Knuckle of V, yeah.
We've played that like a couple of times on the show. Absolutely
Yeah.
slaps.
Thanks so much.
No, not at all. Like you sort of we really like the kind of whole like black and thrash sound more generally, like bands like yourself, The Witcher, things like that. It's great stuff. Do we have a release date for the new album yet? And like,
Yeah, it should be February 17th. And there'll be a new song out next week, I hope.
Oh, sweet. We'll definitely play it on the show then.
Excellent. Yeah, I think it's the 18th that it's coming out. I need to double check, but yeah, it'll be the title track from the album.
Oh, sweet. Have you released the album title yet?
Yeah, so it's Warlocks, Grim, and Withered Hags.
Oh, all right, awesome.
Yeah, suitably.
Yeah, it's got all these like occult references in it.
Yeah, it's the title track is based on a poem by Robert Burns, and the album title comes from a line in that poem as well. So I thought it kind of tied into the album, like with the central theme is kind of Scotland and all that kind of stuff. So I thought, yeah, and it sounds. I think it sounds cool. The album title, it's kind of.
Yes. What Burns poem is it? Because I've read like a couple of Burns poems, like the Tam O'Shanter obviously wrote all kinds of things like that. But like, which poems the line come from?
It's Address to the Devil, Address to the Deal.
Okay.
It's probably it's kind of a poem that kind of it's about the devil and all the kind of evil, but kind of like downplays it or kind of dismisses the devil's power and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like it's kind of like he speaks kind of jokingly or mockingly kind of about the devil and all that, and I decided to kind of take some of the lines, take some of the imagery and all that, and turn it around again, so it's kind of a devil worship kind of song, to fit in with the Hellripper kind of aesthetic.
Yeah, really wearing those like Venom influences on your sleeve and stuff like that.
Is that something that you generally do then? Do you take inspiration for lyrics from poems and stuff like that? Because I know a lot of your lyrics are you've got a very cohesive theme, like with the songs.
Yeah. So usually a lot of the times I take like inspiration from usually it's either like films or like real events, like historical events kind of things. And yeah, I try and sometimes I just kind of take it and like base it on that thing directly, or sometimes in this case as well, like I twist it, kind of put my own take on it. But yeah, this album is fully based on Scotland this time. I've done a few like Scottish based songs before, like with Black Arts and Alchemy and Vampire's Grave, but this time, like since I'm in the Highlands, I moved to the Highlands like 3 years ago, I kind of thought I'd look into more, like it kind of inspired me to look into more like folklore and all that kind of stuff, like Scottish folklore and all that. And yeah, after having a couple of ideas for song titles or song ideas, topics, I thought let's try and make this album, not a concept album, but like have a theme throughout the album. So all the songs are kind of Scottish folklore, Scottish events, just like kind of Scottish things, whether they're entirely based on that thing or just takes like inspiration from that. So it kind of try to give it a more cohesive theme overall.
Awesome. Yeah. Out of interest, like you saying that you were basing it on like certain like things from history, was it a historical event that you were drawing from for like the Affair of the Poisons?
So yeah, the Affair of the Poisons was based on the Affair of the Poisons, like the witchcraft scandal involving like the kings and stuff in France.
I've not heard that at all. Like
it's just it's hard to go into all the details. There's just so much stuff going on in that whole affair. There was so much stuff like child sacrifice and witchcraft and poisonings and all that just, yeah, there's so much stuff, like it was difficult to kind of get it all into one song. Originally, I thought I might do a kind of concept album based on that thing for that album, but yeah, I decided just to kind of do the one song, and yeah, it was difficult to kind of fit everything into the 5-minute track. But yeah, so a lot of the stuff is kind of in that kind of realm overall.
That's really cool. I'm probably going to be doing some hardcore Wikipediaing later.
Yeah, there's plenty. Almost every song I've got, you can find about something. Aside from, yeah, a lot, I mean, other than that kind of stuff, a lot of my lyrics, especially on the last couple albums, or especially the early stuff, was just kind of like, over the top, satanic, extreme, like my own kind of horror.
Yeah.
My own kind of horror stories or whatever, like just based on like over the top Satan, killing, sacrifice, all that kind of stuff. All the fun stuff, the fun black metal stuff.
So like that kind of like ties in very much like the kind of imagery you have going on with the band. Like we were getting just somewhat jokey question, but like so would you say like a goat's kind of like your spirit animal or something, or like is it it's very like prominent in your branding?
Yeah, it's yeah, I mean, originally like the goat thing just kind of happened by accident, really. I mean, obviously like bands and metal and have used like goats and like Baphomet and Satan and stuff throughout since the beginning, and you've got like Bathory, Sabbath, whoever, like using goats and stuff. And I remember the first album had a goat on the album cover, just as like, yeah, it was like an evil goat killing priests and stuff. And then for the merch for that album, I wanted like the Motorhead England kind of tribute shirt, like, so it's the Hellripper Scotland, and instead of Snaggletooth, I got like a goat, and it was originally meant to be kind of like a limited edition tribute shirt, like 50 shirts, like kind of thing, and that was it. But then people kind of really seemed to like latch onto it, and like it.
I mean, I've got a Hellripper Scotland patch on my jacket, so
yeah, it just kind of like, yeah, people like started like kind of associating the band with goats and stuff. Even though there's a million bands doing goat stuff.
Yeah, I mean, like your fan clubs, you can call it the goat cons.
Yeah, the goat. Yeah, I named it like that. Just because I thought it was kind of funny, and yeah, like the cult is spelt with a KVLT, of course.
Of course, like standard.
Everything we do here is evil. But so it just came from that. Like, everyone kind of just started associating the band with like the goat band, and I'm like, there's a million bands doing like goat stuff, like, but fair enough. And then I done All Hail the Goat, and that kind of became like a slogan, kind of motto, whatever, battle cry, whatever. And it's just kind of went from there. And even the new album, like I say, it's based on Scottish stuff. So we've got the branding for this album. Some of it is I've got the clan crest. So my clan crest, the animal for my the McBain clan is a wildcat. And so you've got like the wildcat on the crest, and it says touch not a cat but a targe, which is touch not a cat with a shield. Yeah. So to tie in with that, I made the Hellripper clan crest, which is of course the goat, and touch not a goat but a targe. So yeah, kind of tying it in. So it's it's a bit more personal as well, but that's the good thing about Hellripper, just being myself. I can kind of make it a personal, put personal touches, like it's a personal project. In some ways, not like too personal, like with lyrics and stuff, but in terms of this kind of thing.
I think it adds like an extra level of character and fun to the band as well, because it's the project, because there's a lot of extra stuff like the merch all ties together and everything. And speaking of merch, I think I saw on a live stream ages ago, did someone say you were going to make a dressing gown with the Hellripper go on the back or something.
People suggest stuff like that, like stuff like this all the time. I would do that, but I think it's probably very expensive.
I'd imagine so.
I'd say it's quite expensive, and I don't think many people would be interested in paying like £1 million for Hellripper merch.
Yeah, I mean, like you've definitely got like unique merch, like compared to like sort of like other bands of your size, you know, like booty shorts and other things like that.
Yeah, I like to have different stuff as well. Yeah, like my girlfriend was saying, like it's quite difficult to get like women's stuff, or sometimes she said like women's stuff is more expensive and all that in general. I'm not too sure. So I was like, yeah, I'll get some like women's stuff. People are interested in it, and so I got stuff like I've got like the girly shirts, which are like cheaper than the regular shirts and stuff like that. Just because, it's good. I like to cater to everyone. Like if people want something, it's good that they can get it. I don't want to exclude people for whatever reason, really. So
I wasn't even aware that there was that kind of disparity in sort of like merch price, because I myself never looked into like women's merch or anything like that.
Yeah, same here. I mean, I had no idea. It was just my girlfriend was telling me about some stuff, like she's like experienced like sometimes the women's shirts are more expensive and there's not a big selection of women's stuff, and sometimes the fit for women and stuff is not the best and all that. And so I try and get as big a selection as I can, like with everything. So you've got shorts, shorts, gym shorts, booty shorts, whatever.
Like your merch game's like way stronger than any of the like underground bands I've seen.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean I like doing the merch as well, because I get to get art from killer artists. I mean, metal has like such a good like all the artists in metal, like there's so many good ones, and obviously I can't work with them all for an album. So it's a cool way to work with people that I'm a fan of and get them to do some cool designs for merch. And I like to have the merch as the best design that I can, because it's like if I wouldn't wear it, then I'm not gonna print it. Like, so I like to have everything as best as they can be, like best design, and I try and get the best quality stuff without making things so expensive and all that.
That's like that's the balance you got to find, isn't it?
Yeah, because I mean, like right now as well, like prices are going up for everything, of course. Like, so in the past like 2 or 3 years, I think like the price of like say a t-shirt has went up by like £1 or £2, which sounds like small. I mean, I guess it is, but when the profit margin, because I don't like to charge too much. Like I like people to I'd rather people have my merch than make more money from the merch. So when the profit margin is like kind of small already, it's difficult when things go up by £1 or £2, because I mean it just makes the gap smaller.
I mean, like you still need to kind of use the merch to fund the project at the end.
Exactly.
But no, I like your merch. At least like the gig we went to in Liverpool last, it was reasonable. We all walked away with like quite a few bits and stuff.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah,
and the tote bags helped, since we couldn't carry around our actual backpacks. It was like a tote bag and fill everything.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah. See, there's some stuff like the tote bags, which do a lot better live than they do like online. So so like when like you're analyzing stuff and you're like, oh, we haven't sold any tote bags in like a couple months or whatever, then you go play live shows and they all sell out immediately. Like, so it's fun doing that, seeing what people are interested in, like the analysis, like all that kind of stuff. I like looking at like spreadsheets in Excel and stuff. I'm like,
is that your because I read somewhere that you did a business degree or something, so is that kind of
so business IT. so yeah, there's like, yeah, I like having things like organized, looking at things on a spreadsheet and stuff, and yeah, it's just cool seeing like a common thing, or seeing what's doing well, what's not doing well, where it's doing well. Yeah, seeing like different countries and stuff where you're selling loads of vinyl here, no vinyl here. Just seeing like what works and stuff and what doesn't.
Yeah, it's really interesting, like, because we had Simon from Dorm Raid on a couple of weeks ago, and like one thing he was saying is like different merch sells differently in different countries, like because of like cultural context and stuff, and like it's in because Dawn Raid are a much more like sort of political band and things like that. A lot of like the stuff with like swords and like medieval stuff on it won't sell well in like a lot of like sort of Central European countries, nation like fascism and stuff like that. So it's like
okay, cool, I mean I don't really have that kind of problem. I mean, unless if you don't like goats, you're kind of you're kind of screwed for Hellripper merch, really. But
you have any merch that doesn't have goats on it? That's impressed.
At the moment, no. Yeah, at the moment, no. But there is a couple of designs for the new album that have got non-goats on them. I think there might be one design, but usually the goats are in a different context. Usually, sometimes the goats are killing angels. Sometimes they're just usually the goats are killing someone, to be fair. But
are they based off Black Phillip from The Witch then?
No, I haven't done that. Though I'd love to. But I think Green Lung kind of have that covered.
Oh, true.
Yeah, I absolutely love Green Lung's whole aesthetic, man. Like,
same. I got the picture disc of the Wooden Rights one, and it's just covered in all like the little goats that are based on like 17th century woodcuts and stuff.
Yeah. I love their whole aesthetic. Before I discovered them, that was kind of like one of my ideas for the Affair of the Poisons album cover, like to have a kind of woodcut thing. And for this album, originally, like almost right after the Affair of the Poisons, I had the idea for having like a stained glass window, like type thing. The idea I had was a bit different to the Green Lungs one, but yeah, basically,
so they're just one step ahead of you every time.
Basically exactly the same.
It might have bugged your house, you never know.
Yeah, so yeah, that was a no-go. But it didn't fit anyway, like what the album ended up being. I wouldn't have went for that anyway, but that was one of the original ideas. Yeah, like their whole, I love Green Lung's aesthetic.
It's interesting that you've got like that kind of similar aesthetic with the goats, because it's usually like, for some reason when we talk about Hellripper, we usually in the same breath as Green Lung, because you both feel the kind of the analogy that I've used like a couple of times on the radio show is that you're both bands that seem like you're in like a bit of a pressure cooker right now, and that I think in the next couple of years you're probably going to like just kind of like explode, like, because it's kind of like the buzz following both like Hellripper and Green Lung kind of in the underground, and just in a relatively short period of time you built this like cult following. Stuff. Like I just, there wasn't really a question, it was just more an observation that I've kind of like made over the years.
Cool. Well, I mean, I'm glad. Yeah, it's cool that you like see it that way. I mean, since I'm in it, since I'm involved, it's difficult for me to say, because obviously like I'm in it, so I can't see from the outside if things are going like, I mean, if people are speaking to me and things, it feels like things are going well, but you can't. It's difficult to judge. I don't know how to elaborate, but yeah, it's difficult to judge. But I mean, Green Lung especially, they're already just going. They're like, who are they supporting? Like Clutch or something, right?
I think they did that like was it? I think that tour's just been and gone, hasn't it? I
yeah, something like that. Yeah. So I mean, it's like they're doing mad stuff. Like, but yeah, I mean,
like as well. Like I saw them at Damnation this year, just gone, and they were just they literally sounded like their album. Like the vocalist was just like pitch perfect.
But I mean, all my aim is to really do is like make good music. Hopefully keep growing and just see what happens, really. Like, I mean, I just kind of write the music and then see what happens, see what comes my way, really. Like, and like I said, like you mentioned, like the Warbringer and Gamma Bomb and stuff like that. That's really cool. Like, I mean, that's just like a perk to, like, an additional cool thing, like getting to play and meet bands that I'm a massive fan of, which is
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Sounds awesome.
I mean, I'm a fan of music first of all, so it's, yeah, I mean, like, yeah.
How does so when you start writing, how do you start that? Do you start like a guitar riff, or do you have like an idea for a theme, or how do you sort of fit it all together?
Yeah, usually it's usually I'm just messing around on guitar, just kind of sitting with a guitar, like just here at my desk or in the living room or something, just kind of messing around on guitar and kind of listening to music and all that. And I'm just messing around, and maybe in like a 2-hour session, I'll have like a couple of ideas, and I'll have like 10 seconds worth of like whatever, and I'll record it, or I'll write it down. And then over time, I just kind of have a folder of ideas, like folder of parts that I just try and elaborate on. The hardest part is getting like because I find it difficult to like put parts together from like random sections. I usually like to start on an intro and then kind of build the song like that.
That's because like we're in a band ourselves, and it kind of like,
well, we practice with 2 other people.
well, yeah, it's a regular thing, but it tends to very much be like kind of like riff salad, you know, like kind of like, and it's that kind of thing of it's very, yeah, I know what you mean. Like usually it's the things that you organically will write after the first riff you've written tend to flow better than something, that thing I wrote 3 months ago, let's jam that in there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I've got like a whole bank of ideas and stuff that I do draw on, but usually, yeah, I like to try and get an intro riff or an intro, like an acoustic intro or whatever, just anything. And yeah, then I find it easier to go, okay, cool, and then build it structure wise as well, because yeah, that was a problem, like you say, the riff salad thing. Like a lot of stuff I've wrote over the years, like ended up like just having no structure or whatever, like so yeah, that's why like after listening to bands, like I listen to a lot of like non-metal or like the classics. Like if you listen to like the Beatles, AC/DC, whatever, Nirvana, Alice in Chains, like Rolling Stones, like you kind of get an idea over the years. I kind of got an idea for song structure, what works. Like, I mean, if you listen to like pop and like rock, you kind of see what goes well together instead of just riff 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although that does work as well, depending on the context. I've got a song like that on the new album, which is it's like 21 parts or something like that. Just kind of.
But you tend to find it's like a better writing wise, it's better to have like you kind of like intro, verse, chorus, verse, chorus.
Yeah.
Right? You're like following that kind of like classic structure rather than.
Yeah, exactly. Like, yeah, a lot of songs I hear and they're like good songs, but the main thing for Hellripper that I want is like catchy choruses or catchy riffs, or I want the song to be catchy and memorable.
That's one thing you achieved, definitely.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I feel like just having like you can have like the best riff ever. Like there's some songs that may have like the best riff ever or whatever, but then you kind of forget the rest of you kind of forget the song. Like, so that's what
a common thing with metal. I think like I tend to like put an album on and I'll remember really enjoying that album, but there's no like one song that stands out to me particularly. So when it comes to like picking something for the radio, it's a bit difficult.
Yeah, exactly. That's why a band like say Midnight are doing well, because Athanar knows how to like write a catchy like simple song. I mean, obviously I know Athanar is a massive Kiss fan, which I'm sure that kind of plays into it. But yeah, so it's just try and get as catchy stuff. And sorry, to get back onto what you mentioned, yes, sometimes I have ideas for themes and stuff, like I'll be online or just reading stuff, or I'll see a film or just anything, and I'll just write it down. And usually I keep a list of themes, a list of song lyric ideas, in a like a Word document thing. But they always come in at the end. So I usually write the music will get like at least 90% done first, and then the lyrics come in at the end to fit the music, and I kind of draw from the Word document there.
So do you have like a set process then? Like you said, you're quite analytical with merch. Is it the same when you write music? Is it like, do you have like a specific process, or is it just when it happens, it happens?
Yeah, kind of when just whatever happens. But yeah, I do, for the most part, it goes like that. So it's kind of like a set process, but like things happen during it. So anything can happen, but for the most part, yeah, it's like just me messing around on guitar. I'll write it down, try and do an intro riff, and then elaborate there. And yeah, I usually do, like, every time I come up with like a riff or whatever, I use Guitar Pro software, Tux Guitar, like a free version of Guitar Pro. And I like put the drums and stuff to it, like the MIDI drums. So I kind of, by the time I record, I've got like 90% of the song is like done, like structure wise, and like I know where all the instruments fit and stuff. And when I'm recording, it's usually just minor changes, or adding like overdubbing like guitar parts, like just to add atmosphere or whatever like that. So yeah, the recording part is a lot easier than the writing part, like, because I've got everything. Well, I say it's easier. It's more, I kind of know what I'm doing at that point. It's still annoying because I'm always arguing with myself what I want the sound to be like and stuff. So yeah, once I find the sound that I want, like once I find a good like guitar tone and a relatively good kind of mixed kind of template that I'm trying to get, I can apply that to like the whole album, like in general. So
do you
yeah,
play all the instruments on your album, like the drums as well?
Yeah, well, the drums are programmed on the stuff. But yeah, everything.
Sound like it, like that's mind you, I suppose,
Very
like,
good drum patch.
yeah, like software instruments are actually getting like ridiculously good now, in fairness. But
Yeah, I know there's even like a bass software that you play a guitar part and it like mirrors it on like a realistic sounding bass or something. I've seen
wow.
a couple of YouTubers use it. I don't know what it's called. I wouldn't use that because I can play bass to an okay standard. So, but yeah, drums I think is just difficult for everyone. It's like annoying to record. You need about 7,000 mics. You need a room that you can make a lot of noise in. You need whatever. And I like to change things like last minute as well, so it helps in that way. And I think, there's like a stigma against using drum programming especially in like kind of thrash, black metal type stuff. But I don't know why. I mean, if it sounds good, then it sounds good. I don't see a problem.
I mean, I think the fact that we were surprised by the fact that you have programmed drums kind of says it all, really.
Yeah,
like a genre that prides itself on like lo-fi mixes and stuff as well. So I don't think black metal really.
I suppose it might be more of the kind of like thrash purist side of it.
Oh, maybe.
Like that's
I don't know. I think I just really don't care if it sounds good. It sounds good. I think even if I had real drums, I think I'd probably just wouldn't say, just to, because I don't think it's important. Like if it sounds good. Like if like there are people that say like, oh, I like the music, and I say, oh yeah, the drums are programmed, and then they're like, oh no, I don't like the music actually, and I'm like,
well, clearly if you fooled them, like they don't mind programmed drums.
So it's just it's like I'm saying, if I use like real drums, I probably wouldn't even say, just to I just don't think it's important.
I think the people like that are ones that you kind of want to annoy sometimes. Like I
mean, it's just like, even like so many, but I think a lot of people as well don't realize how many bands you like do stuff in the studio that like I don't know they wouldn't approve of or whatever, you know, like
Yeah.
It's like
I think
the sticking with like drum triggers, for example. Like I've never quite understood that, especially if they're using the same argument of the drummer is actually playing those things.
Yeah.
They've just sampled some really cool
Yeah.
drum things. So I don't understand why there's such like a stigma around triggers as well. But
yeah, I mean, see, I couldn't even tell you the like really the mindset because I don't care if it sounds good, it sounds good. I mean, you've got people like I mentioned the Beatles before. What song is it? I can't remember. This may be wrong, but it's like Strawberry Fields Forever or something. It's like recorded in 2 different takes, if I'm not mistaken. Like, and one is a different key, and they just like pitch shifted it down. So there's like it's like a song in 2 parts, but you can't really tell that it's different. I think it's that. It's something like that anyway.
They would have had the technology to pitch shift back then. Like I think of that as a kind of more modern thing because I've like used software where it's like, oh, I want a guitar in D, I'll just select that one and play my standard guitar. But
Yeah,
didn't know that they had like something similar way back when.
I've got no idea. That may be like not totally like accurate, but it was something like that where it's like, but yeah, I think for me the studio is like a place of, again, since I'm not a full band, so I don't think of it in terms of like live, like playing live. So I think for me, like the studio is a fun place to kind of like experiment with stuff. Like I can add 50 guitars and stuff, stuff that I would never like play live and all that. But like it does make sense. A lot of bands just want the record to be a reflection of the live sound, which makes sense. And
I mean,
yeah.
I don't think that you sound particularly dissimilar live, though. Like, I mean,
I think it's a style of music. Like the style of music, it's something that, like, I'm not like an experimental band, but it's like something I like to do. Like just add extra layers of guitars that
that kind of wall sound kind of
some stuff like that, or have like a few different vocal tracks and stuff like that maybe we couldn't do live. But I mean, it still sounds like good live, but it's just like, having like 6 guitars happening at the same time in some parts. You can't really do that live. And I mean, I guess it's why some bands as well, like use backing tracks as well when they've got like orchestras or whatever, if there's only like 3 or 4 of you. But I mean, I think I look at this like the studio and the live side of things like in a total different way. Like with the live stuff, I like it to be just kind of like old school, kind of just thrash. It doesn't need to be like perfect. It's just if the energy's there, it's there. Like just try and be fast, aggressive, like a fun live band, just the 4 of us. And like on the recordings, I want the recordings to sound good no matter what, so I don't limit myself in that respect.
In like a live setting, you definitely got like kind of like an anarchic energy, like kind of like the way that it basically was just the case that you just kind of took a flying V out of a case and started playing.
That's
really like it, and it was just like it had like that kind of like flying by the seat of your pants kind of thing, but like that was fun. That was
I'm glad you thought so. I mean, that's what we aim for. I mean, for me, a live show, like what I enjoy most is like just like craziness and loads of movement, energy and all that. And when I'm listening to like something in the like a recording, I want like a good song, a good catchy song, and the production's a good tool in that respect, like to experiment. But I mean, I don't go overboard. Like I don't add extreme stuff like loads of orchestras and stuff, like, because that wouldn't make sense, because we could not do anything like that live, if you know what I mean. Like adding keyboards and stuff is we could get away with, but like adding like orchestras and making it sound huge, like that would never really for
Black
example.
Yeah, like black and thrash or black and roll or whatever you like. I've heard like a few terms for it, but like it's a very stripped down sound anyway. So
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, like I say, like I wouldn't really have any reason to use that kind of stuff, but just as an example, it's like yeah, I try the live show, I try and make as close to the album as possible, of course, but yeah, the black thrash, black speed, whatever you want to call it.
yeah,
It's kind of just for the most part like stripped down guitars, drums, bass, vocals, and yeah, that's what I use 90% of the time, basically.
awesome. Yeah. Yeah, just kind of like to like round out the interview and stuff. We like because obviously we're a radio show as well as like all the stuff we do on YouTube and stuff.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if you maybe wanted to pick like 4 or 5 songs that kind of either bands that you're like up and coming bands that you're really excited about, or bands from the past that have really influenced kind of Hellripper's sound. Like you maybe program like 5 songs, half an hour of music, and we'll your pick.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I could do that. Right now, or
if it's not putting you on the spot too much, like I mean,
right. Let's see. I'm gonna say one that I loved, and I saw it was actually your first video on YouTube. It was Steel Wing.
Oh yeah, I love Steel Wing.
Yeah, one of my absolute favorites. I'd like to, so I'll go for this. Probably influenced the last album more than this album. I was listening to a lot of their last album, Reset, Reboot, Redeem.
Yeah, that was like a really interesting like left turn for them, because they started off very much like taking that new wave of British heavy metal sound, and now they had like almost like a lo-fi like
and it got a bit more black metal. Yeah, he started kind of like not growling, but some of the vocals were a bit more extreme or whatever you would say. So go for Reset, Reboot, Redeem by Steel Wing. What else? I'll go for probably the band that kind of influenced Hellripper the most would be Toxic Holocaust, and the song 666 in particular, just because it was the whole, like, hearing that song, it was like a punk song, like, I mean, it was thrash, but it was like, when I heard it, like when I'm young and hearing things for the first time, I always associated thrash with like, kind of technical Megadeth, Metallica, like extreme guitar solos everywhere, Annihilator, Artillery, whatever. And then hearing Toxic Holocaust, where everything's kind of stripped back, almost no guitar solos or very simple guitar solos and stuff. So that was like a big influence on Hellripper, because I was never a lead guitar player before Hellripper. I'd never like played a guitar solo really. And I realized that like you could do thrash metal kind of without the need for extreme guitar solos and all that. You can just give it a more punk edge.
Yeah, I think like even outside of like crossover stuff, like I think people do underwrite like kind of the punk influence that thrash had. Like, especially in like the rhythm section and stuff like that. Like that's kind of taken so much from like hardcore punk and
I mean, especially at the beginning, Hellripper was like almost equally as influenced by like Anti-Cimex and Discharge and whatever, all that kind of stuff, Driller, Killer, GBH.
That's kind of the thing. Like I think if you don't, sometimes like almost if you take away the album covers and what the bands look like, I think sometimes they're indistinguishable. Like sometimes Discharge sound like a thrash band. And I think people who draw the line with all like listen to metal but not punk, it's a bit silly if they're into thrash. I
mean, I guess they do sound different. Like I guess if you like the guitar solos and some thrash, I guess, has more melodic vocals sometimes, or more palatable vocals rather than shouting, unless it's like Slayer or whatever. But I mean, you've got Anthrax or even Metallica and stuff. It's kind of singing. So I mean, there are differences, but I mean, if you want like fast, extreme music, I mean, punk, and it's just, I mean, I grew up like listening to punk and played in punk bands or like kind of crust bands and stuff like that. So right, number 3, what am I going for? For one that like really influenced this album, I was listening to a lot of Alice in Chains. So I'd go for, what would I go for? let's go for Angry Chair by Alice in Chains.
Great.
Yeah, again, during the writing, recording of this album, I was listening to a lot of like 90s grunge and Britpop. So loads of like Oasis, Manic Street Preachers, Alice in Chains, Nirvana, whatever, Smashing Pumpkins. In a lot of that, like they have like the atmospheric kind of guitar sound or whatever, like the production, like they've got a lot of kind of high delayed guitar kind of stuff. So I tried to bring an element of that into this new album. You might not necessarily be able to tell that those are the influences, but like listen to that kind of stuff. It kind of added a new kind of dimension to the sound, I think. Like having, like if you hear the new album, yeah, it's still Hellripper, it's still black thrash, but it's a bit more layered and stuff with the guitars, and the production's a bit more layered. So
no, 100% listen out for that.
Yeah. I mean, even I'm trying to think of in the Knuckle of V. Yeah, in the Knuckle of V, there's a part at the end of the solo where it's like the Dire Straits part, where it's like the Sultans of Swing solo.
Yeah.
Like that bit that keeps going on. There's like 5 or 6 guitars happening there. So you've got the main Dire Straits solo part. You've got 2 guitars harmonizing in the background, the left and right. And then in the background, there's like just a high atmospheric guitar kind of following along in the background. And it's been a while since I actually listened to the studio recording of the song, so I can't remember like how prominent it is, but you can hear like a high guitar in the background. So yeah, just that simple kind of things like that, like make a difference. I think just taking things from other genres, taking ideas from elsewhere.
I didn't pick up on that. Like I'm quite a big Mark Knopfler fan, so I'm going to re-listen to that with that kind of.
Yeah, if you listen, it's just it's like my version of the end of the Sultans of Swing solo, where it's like the part that everyone knows, the hammer-on pull-off bit that everyone loves.
Yeah, I think he calls it his twiddly bits or something.
Yeah, something like that. So if you listen to the end of the Knuckle of V solo, it's basically that in a more metal context. It's that put in the context of like Ride the Lightning or something.
Have you ever seen the live Alchemy?
Yes,
the extended solo in
that is the absolute best. I listen to that like at least once a month, like that version. That drum sound on that, especially that song, but on the album in general, that drum sound is one of my favorite drum sounds ever. Like
it's really punchy, isn't it? Like
the toms are just ridiculous, and the drum playing is amazing as well. Like the fills, if you hear the drum fills are just so good. I love that.
It's kind of like hard to pin Dire Straits down to a specific genre, but they are definitely a kind of musician's band, I think.
Yeah. I mean, you've got like say like a kind of a harder song like Money for Nothing, and you got like Romeo Juliet,
that like National Steel, with the National Steel guitar. Like ever since hearing that, I've always wanted one of those like that weird sort of metallic.
Yeah.
So cool. Sorry, special interest. I'd probably talk about like Dire Straits. Like it's
man. Yeah, I was listening to a lot of that kind of stuff, like Dire Straits and the Beatles, loads of these kind of older bands as well, which influenced the band in somehow. I mean, yeah, there's probably every riff or every part there's probably an inspiration that you probably don't think of. So like the Beatles or something, you would never hear it, or Red Hot Chili Peppers, you would never pick it up, like unless I kind of told you, which is, I guess it's kind of the goal, like just to kind of, I like to take stuff from a non-metal setting, like put it into a metal context, make it work as a speed metal thing, even in terms of just like a song structure, for example. Like I mentioned before, like the Beatles, like you'll hear something like, oh, this sounds cool, like the way they've done this. How can I do this in a way that sounds like Toxic Holocaust or Dark Throne or something, you know? So yeah, it's always fun. It's always like a good challenge as well, like to do that kind of stuff.
That's a really interesting pitch for a band like Lennon and McCartney meet, Ted and Fenriz from Hornthrowers.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Beatallica?
I haven't, but is it like Elvana or like?
No, it's like it's kind of like Beatles songs in the style of Metallica and Metallica songs in the style of the Beatles. Like it's a good mixture. And like they take the song titles, mix them up, like Hero of the Day Tripper, stuff like that. The Thing That Should Not Let It Be. And the guy sounds like Hetfield and stuff, and it's good fun. I'm
gonna check that out. Yes.
Yeah,
so last two songs for your half an hour playlist or whatever.
So I'll go for Megadeth, Good Morning, Black Friday.
Oh yeah.
So that's probably one of my favorite Megadeth songs. Which is funny because, like I mentioned before, like with the song structures, that one doesn't really have a verse chorus song structure. That's kind of a linear, like just one part after the next part, but it works. It's amazing. It's my favorite Megadeth song, and the guitar solos at the starts, and but the ominous intro with extreme shredding over the top. Yeah, absolutely love Megadeth. What else do we go for? Let's try Legions of the Black Light by Watain.
Sweet.
Go for some extreme.
Yeah.
Something more extreme, I guess.
I was thinking that the list was like really lacking black metal. Is like leaning.
Yeah, I could have went one way. I was like, with all the mention of the Beatles, I was thinking, I should have put like Paperback Writer, but then I thought, we'll go the opposite direction. We'll go harder.
I remember like being on like holiday once, like some like bloke that was like in like his 60s or 70s trying to convince me that the Beatles invented heavy metal, and I was kind of like, that's a bit stretch. Like he's saying that like, like with Helter Skelter
and stuff. Yeah, I mean, if you listen to some of the Beatles riffs, though,
but I think it was a bit of a stretch saying that they invented heavy metal.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it heavy metal, but I mean, if you some of the riffs, like if you listen to like say, like Paperback Writer or Day Tripper or something like that, or what I Feel Fine or something, a lot of the riffs are like quite hard, like quite you could do them in like a sort of metal context, I guess. But yeah.
Well, my baby cousin, well, he's about 4 or 5 now, I think. He really likes the Beatles, and he was asking me to play heavy stuff. I was like, well, what's suitable? And I was like, let's try and get him onto Led Zeppelin. Let's try and go there.
Yeah.
He sings Paperback Writer all the time.
That's my favorite. That's my favorite.
5 this year.
That's cute.
Yeah.
Was that 5?
That is 5.
That is 5.
I wrote them down. I've got them down.
I'm glad you're on it.
Yeah.
But no, awesome. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and it's been a pleasure.
Thank you both for having me and speaking about the new album and Dire Straits and stuff.
No, definitely. But we'll definitely be playing the new album, and we'll be seeing you on the Warbringer tour.
Do you have anything to plug? That's what I was going to say.
The new album, February 17th, Warlocks, Grim and Withered Hags, coming out through Peaceville Records. As you mentioned, we'll be playing a few shows with Warbringer in the UK. We'll be playing a sort of album release show the week before the album is released in Glasgow. We'll be playing some shows throughout the year. Look out for that. You can go on our website and Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp, and see all of that kind of stuff. See what's the latest happenings and all that. But that's about it. Listen to the music.
Awesome. Cheers.
Thank you.
Yeah.